Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And a spicy down the timeline yesterday, no doubt about it. We've got Octane shooting bodies up against the Trons Ultra, then getting into some sort of incident with the referee in the match. And also on the amateur side, TJ versus Fire in some pretty heated Twitter drama. And tweeting your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you were new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. I've really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Yesterday, 17th of July 2016, 5 years ago at this point, Envoy, that being the team of, as you can see, Slasher, aBeZy, John and JCab won stage 2 of the CDL aimed on CWL as it was back then in Black Ops 3, then went on to win the World Championship as well that year. Thought I'd mention this as well for me to make kind of interesting. Didn't say it live because I thought the CDL might say something about it, he says, but that Florida versus Los Angeles Guerrilla series was the 200th series of the entire season, as Lion says, and what a barn burner it was indeed. Hey, I mean, of course, Los Angeles Guerrillas, to be fair to them, did win a map as we talked about yesterday, but it wasn't exactly a spectacular affair for the 200th one of the season. Wanted to mention this real quick from Crimsix, because if you guys are, well, struggling to figure out exactly how you get blocked by this guy, this is the new method. From this point forward, I'm blocking anyone who mentions OpTic, Scump, or Formal when it has zero relevance to the topic. Need to get them out of my head, because clearly I got issues, but I'll let this one slide on this occasion that it gets deleted regardless. Let's move on and talk about this game from yesterday then. So we had a game that we didn't talk about in yesterday's video, because I was like, look, this is probably a foregone conclusion. Toronto Ultra versus Seattle Surge. To be fair to Seattle, this map 1 was actually pretty interesting. Like, if anything, they should have won this. Toronto threw it pretty hard. They had a massive lead and I thought like it was over, and then when I look back a few minutes later, all of a sudden Seattle are like dead level in this match. But well, Toronto Ultra clutch up. I mean, they just did a good enough job contesting. Gunless had a streak, and I'm not exactly sure why he decided to use it on P2, because might have been better to save for the final hard point. But Toronto managed to contest a P2 for just long enough. They get the perfect rotation to P3. They hold it down, and inside and Cammy went massive at the end. I mean, Cammy's just an absolute monster, man. Especially in this control, he was ridiculous. But it was kind of the the search and destroy that was particularly interesting. As Sim says, that first map was crazy. Seattle with the Garbo P2 setup all over the shot right here, not really consistently holding the bricks. Persians not necessarily looking at the right stuff, puts them in a difficult spot to close out this game. And this is what I talked about right in the Florida versus a Los Angeles Guerrilla series. When a map comes down to the wire, it tends to be, at least at the moment, the better teams always get themselves over the line. And Toronto Ultra managed to do that right here, even though they kind of hard through this map at a time. And well, the game 2 was also pretty interesting. Before we talk about that, let's mention this from Octane. Are you guys going to Major 5, anonymous referee? So of course, all the teams are going to Major 5. Maybe the referee meant the World Championship, right? Because of course they're not going to champs like Seattle Surge. But I guess the referee should have known that anyway, right? So I'm not really sure why he's asking this question. Are you guys going to Major 5? It's just kind of a funny one, because obviously, well, all the teams go to Major 5, but you know, Seattle are likely going to start in the losers bracket over there. And it's just still kind of funny. You should have said, I don't know, says Tim. I said, I think so. You know, says Octane in the replies right here. I'm having a good time, certainly in the search and destroy. This is actually a really, really nice 1v3 he got. He picked up the first kill. 1 versus 2 retake onto the A-bomb site. Not easy to do with the Krieg in hand. And Toronto going to make a mistake here as Cammy and inside. Cammy decides to fly out, and the inside gets caught as well over the box. So really nice shots from Octane to get the job done here. And as you can see, shooting bodies most certainly. We saw it happen to aBeZy just yesterday when he shot bodies, and they had a 5-2 advantage up against Los Angeles Thieves. And well, it obviously backfired on aBeZy, and it backfires, I suppose you could say, on Octane right here. Shoots the bodies and doesn't get the job done in the map. Toronto going to win this map. They go on to win the game 3 as well. No real surprises at the end of the day. Seattle Surge falls short. Toronto Ultra move on. But still, I mean, where's Octane going to go next? Because you look at the overall series statistics right here, as Octane says, GG's Toronto lost 3-0. I shall continue shooting bodies, no doubt about it. CDL meme saying, you know, got to shoot Classic's body as well with some difficult performances of late. And well, don't shoot bodies, kids. Ultra with a quick throw to close out the day. Inside to Cammy again, absolutely dominant form. And you know, Classic with another 0.6. But to be fair, this is actually a better 0.6 than he's had the previous couple of events. So maybe he's getting back to form. Octane with a 1.08. This is, I mean, it's honestly just the Classic show, right? This is how Seattle's been for like 2 seasons now. It's really not a surprise at this point. You could even argue, like, maybe you just try some sort of role change with this squad, because there's nothing to lose at this point. And, you know, well, Octane says, right, are they even going to stage 5 or the stage 5 major? Of course they are, but people are not really confident that it's going to end up too well for them at that event. Of course, Octane has an interesting discussion on his hands as to where he's going to go next season. We know that him and Kenny have been a duo before. We think they may well indeed be a duo again. Could it even work though over at Los Angeles Thieves? Because of course LA Thieves, they've been looking pretty good as of late. They've got a big matchup against Paris Legion today. They play OpTic next week, and then they go into the major, right, and will start, it seems, in the winners bracket. If they can have a good result in the major and into the World Championships, then well, do Los Angeles Thieves think twice about bringing in Octane, right? Like, Octane's kind of got a hope that LA Thieves like have a poor showing. If anything, Seattle would like love to match up, I think, against Los Angeles Thieves, and Octane could like beat them. Like, that would be the ideal case scenario, right? If Seattle can somehow make a lower bracket run and then find themselves up against Thieves, and Octane can like beat them and take him out, then he might like instigate them to actually try and make the change in the offseason if it isn't already happening, as we may assume that it somewhat is. But a lot of interesting discussion over there about how these rosters could form next season. I'm sure a lot of the players on Seattle might have a tough time getting back into the league. I don't think Octane and Gunless will have a problem, but the other guys probably going to be a pretty difficult time. And got to think as well about, okay, is Slasher going to stay on that Los Angeles Thieves squad? Are there other squads that are looking for options? I think Rostermania is going to be another crazy one this season, no doubt about it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button on the channel so you do not miss anything. Let's talk about this then. So some amateur drama comes out. Phantoms, who was a name, of course, on the Paris Legion last season on their starting team. He's been around a couple of years. He gets forwarded yesterday for 100 virtual points by TJHaLy and some other guys. But that doesn't happen. That only really kicks off some of the drama that was going on in the amateur side. Fire tweets this out yesterday. So Fire, of course, formerly in the Pro League on Paris Legion earlier this season, didn't have necessarily the greatest run of things, drops down to the challenger side, and of course is trying to make his name back into the league. It's tough to do if you're in a situation like Fire though, right? You've dropped down to the challenger side once again, and you're just trying to build your name up again, you're trying to build your stock up again. It's tough to do so, right? Because I think a lot of pros will look at a guy like Fire and look at other players that have had their shot in the Pro League and didn't necessarily make the most of it and say, okay, well, it's going to take another couple of years of proving a fair bit to actually get this guy back in the league. Kind of like the situation with Sparks, you could argue, in Los Angeles Grillers last year, where didn't really perform particularly well, and now he's down in the challenger side again. You know, even though he plays really well, he's going to struggle to get a spot because he didn't perform really on the big stage. So I think that's the issue somewhat for Fire right here. But as he tweets out, they beat TJHaLy and co. Envoy tweets this out right here. I think he goes like 34-29, 8-6 in the session destroy. It's nothing absolutely spectacular out of Fire, but they do get the 3-0 sweep done. I mean, obviously this round 11 was very close. The control came down all the way to around 5. But well, this is what TJ has to say in reply. And Fire goes on to delete a tweet. Why do you post pics? No one on Twitter even cares. You haven't won a map versus me since being in challenges, says Fire. So of course TJ also in a pretty tough spot this season, benched off Los Angeles Thieves. We thought maybe that the benching from LA Thieves could have happened earlier than it actually did, but eventually now he's down there in the challenger side, and it's obviously got to be tough for guys like TJ. We've talked about it for methods, for example, keeping keeping your composure and keeping your grind like a hat on, I suppose, down there in the challenger side when maybe you feel like you do still belong in the Pro League in terms of the way you're playing. It's got to be tough to do, right? And especially if you're having difficult results down in the challenger side, because it's not easy to do well down there. There's obviously a lot of talent, and TJ now finds himself in a pretty tough spot. You haven't won a map versus me since being in challenger, says Fire. You were in the league begging to be back in challengers. You are awful, son, says TJ. So I'm saying that, look, Fire was playing awful in the Pro League, and therefore like he was waiting to get back in challenge for this. I can tell you're tight. I don't even say anything to you. GG's, my son. Then Fire tweets this out and then deletes it after the fact. The big bad pros are mad because I'm at least attempting to bring my stock up when these guys can't even wake up for a 5 PM scrim, getting paid hundreds of thousands. So yeah, certainly calling out the pros right here. And I guess bringing my stock up. I'm not really sure if necessarily posting screenshots on the timeline is bringing your stock up massively, but fair play. Fire tries to get the job done anyway. And well, this is some continuation as well, because Doug was playing last night. I think Yeez actually destroys him right here. But I think Doug got the job done with his boys in a game 5. Cade was playing particularly well. I mean, you got to say fair play to Sensor. I still grinding these challenges tournaments out and getting some decent results at the end of the day, and doesn't really get involved in too much drama, at least as it has been as of late. This I thought interesting just before we talk about the matches for later today from Turtle. 14 of the 17 controls in Stage 5 have been 3-0 sweeps. That is pretty remarkable. The better team right now just seems to win it almost every time. The other 3 were 3-1. Like, there's been no controls so far in Stage 5 that have gone to round 5, which is pretty ridiculous. 2 of the teams that won the control 3-1 were the series loser. So generally we seem to see that the 3-0 sweep goes in the favour of the team that's just the better team. They close out the series. The control is generally a massive swing mode in these series. Let's talk about the games for the day then. First of all, these are the CDL points. FaZe locks up number 1 seed, no doubt about it. These bottom 4 teams now officially out of the running. LAG, Paris Legion, London Royal Ravens, and Seattle Surge. We've known, of course, for a while they weren't going to make the World Championship. Now it is official. I'm pretty sure that Gorillas, whatever they do, even if they win the remaining matches and they win the major, they still cannot get past Florida Mutineers at the end of the day. So our top 8 are set, our bottom 4 are set. That is how it is right now. These are the matches for today, though, because still some seeding implications to play for. Los Angeles Thieves, they have a massive victory on their hands if they can get the job done up against Paris Legion, because the fight for the 6th seed is absolutely massive, and there's a 20-point gap right now between the Minnesota Rokkr and the Los Angeles Thieves, and Mutineers are right on the same points as them. And then the second game of the day, this is the one we have been looking forward to. Atlanta FaZe versus OpTic Chicago. What I'd really like to see here is OpTic show some resilience, because the last couple of times they've played FaZe, I think that OpTic can compete with FaZe, right? We see that FaZe against Los Angeles Thieves Thieves, it wasn't like a complete blowout. Of course, FaZe are going to take this series very seriously. Like against OpTic, they're going to go super hard, which is going to make it difficult for the OpTic guys. But every single time OpTic have played them so far this season, it's pretty much been a blowout, and it's been very difficult for OpTic to get anything going. And often you'll see like they lose the game one, and then they feel like they lose all confidence, lose all momentum, and then they just go and get bodied the rest of the series. I'd be really interested to see what happens. Like, let's say they do lose a close game one, and FaZe may like, play some of the maps that they're not so good at, right? They may throw in a checkmate hardpoint here, and OpTic are particularly good on checkmate hardpoint, so I wonder how that exactly goes. But still, if OpTic do lose a close game one, I really want to see them like have some resilience and bounce back in this series, because if they want to win Stage 5 Major, if they want to win champs, you've probably got to get past FaZe at some point or another. This is a chance to show, okay, you've been improving as of late. How can you do against Atlanta FaZe? Can you take a map or two off them? Can you make things a little bit close? And even if you do lose like 3-0 or 3-1 or something pretty comfortable, at least show some resilience, at least put up a bit of a fight. That's something that OpTic haven't really done before. Like, they lose the game one and then things kind of spiral out of control. So if they can win game one, I think it's a very different story. But if they lose game one, I want to see them go into the search and destroy and actually, with some confidence, right, and still like wanting to play out the rest of the series, because it's been a tough time for them so far. But certainly FaZe versus OpTic doesn't get too much better than this. And then the final series of the day, Dallas Empire versus Minnesota Rokkr. This is another massive one. Empire looked pretty woeful the other day up against Florida Mutineers, or at least making a fair few mistakes. We still went to, well, game 4, regardless, they ended up closing out in, did the Mutineers. But it's the Minnesota Rokkr that have been looking somewhat solid as well. So certainly a lot to play for here, because Rokkr, if they can get a victory against the Dallas Empire, that puts them in a very nice spot indeed to lock up that 6th seed, which of course starts in winners brackets for the World Championship. But if they lose to Dallas Empire and then Los Angeles Thieves win, then all of a sudden there's so much to be played for at that major in terms of, getting a good result and getting the seeding that they want to get for the World Championship. And intriguing your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well. And I'm growing the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you much as always. Take care. And I will see you next time.